Well, you know, Ann Coulter's got a big new book coming out, big blockbuster book called Resistance is Futile, just about to come out. You should go to Amazon and pre-order it right now. You'll be the first to get it. Let's go order Ann Coulter's new book, or you go to AnnCoulter.com or follow her on Twitter. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fantastic, Marc Simone. How are you?
Very good. So what does this mean now? You have to go on a big book tour, right?
Yes, though my book tours are usually just going to New York and L.A.
Oh.
There may be a few others. And by the way, for collectors, you definitely want to get the first edition because there's a massive, embarrassing blooper on page 170. So it's going to be a collector's item like those stamps where the airplane is upside down. It will be fixed immediately in the second printing, along with a few other little errors.
So if you get that first printing, it'll be a collector's item. But you're talking about just the actual physical book.
Right. They will be fixed. They better be fixed in the electronic version, and this is why I can't send any out even to my friends yet. But yeah, it's a fantastic heading. I was talking to one of my friends about it. I was very upset when I found it, and he's more mathematically inclined and said, "Well, did you get any data wrong?" And I said, "No, worse. It ruined a joke."
Oh, okay. So it's her new book. It's called Resistance is Futile. It's the best book now on Trump, on all this stuff. You saw that he met with the New York Times publisher, and the New York Times publisher said, "You're going to cause violence against us." And he actually said, the publisher said, "We've had to put armed guards in front of the building." And Trump said, "What are you talking about? You never had armed guards? Every building has armed guards. How could you not have?"
Yeah, I was suspicious about that. I mean, they certainly have guards. Many guards. Every building does in New York, thanks to our immigration policy on Muslims.
No.
Whoa, did that start after 9/11? I mean, a lot of buildings you might have to check in at the front door, but every building in New York has guards. I haven't tested to see whether they're armed.
Oh, yeah, no, every building has armed guards. In fact, like this building here, we got a lot of guards. You'll notice some of them are ex-cops and they're armed.
Yeah.
So
I just loved that. That what Pinch is worried about is the potential. Oh no, this isn't Pinch. This is son of Pinch.
Yeah.
Is the publisher of the New York Times? A.G. Salzberg.
Yeah. Could you have a more elitist swamp name? I'm A.G. Salzberg.
He's worried about the threat of violence against journalists. Boy, liberals spend a lot of time worrying about right-wingers suddenly erupting in violence. Meanwhile, right-wingers have been being beaten up at college campuses across the country, at Trump rallies. No, actual violence against conservatives and Trump supporters. That is of no interest to liberals, but the potential threat of right-wingers suddenly erupting into violence, that's what we're in a constant state of alarm about. So good for Trump But you haven't mentioned the most important tweet Trump sent out yesterday, which you ought to be waving in my face. And I will say, and that was, he's threatening to shut down the government if he doesn't get full funding for the wall, for ending the diversity lottery, and so on and so forth. The full set of campaign promises. And I will say, even when I wanted to hold his head underwater until the bubble stops when he signed that last omnibus bill. I did admit that it could have been genius because the next omnibus bill would be coming up right before the election, and if he took a strong stand on his campaign promises right before the election, well, that will be huge. That is the one thing he could do, in addition to constant rallies. That would really, really block a gigantic blue wave.
Well, I disagree. I'll tell you why. He's talking about silly issues like jobs and security. Democrats have important issues like banning straws. Paris.
Oh my gosh, the straw ban is my favorite thing.
Paris climate agreements. These are what most Americans are concerned with. Not to mention net neutrality. Most Americans, that's wherever you go, that's what you hear, net neutrality.
No, I know, and that's when they're not just calling us names.
But
it's been a problem on the left for a while, this refusal to engage or discuss, but wow, was it bad in the era of Trump.
So You don't really think there's a blue wave coming, do you?
Sure. I mean that both historically and their side is ginned up into a white hot fury, and as I believe I may have mentioned on your show before, the president has blown off his central promise of building the wall. That's why his tweeted threat yesterday is so important. He can't keep blowing off the central promise of his campaign, as I believe I may have mentioned a time or two.
So, but you're happy now that he's really going to push now for the funding for the wall. He started
Yeah, but he better do it.
Oh, but he'll do it. And
He's always been a good talker.
Yeah, but he may have been saving that for a midterm issue, because once you start pushing for that and bring that up.
I agree, and I did admit that all over the place at the time. It could be genius if he was waiting for the second omnibus bill, and I assume I mentioned it on your show, since you always get snippy with me, as the president does, when I point out that he has completely blown off his central campaign promise.
Well, there's a lot of things going on here: the economy, trade, jobs.
Oh, running off to other countries around the world, making North Korea great again, making Saudi Arabia great again, making Paris great again. Could you get back to America?
Well, we'll get to the wall. Now, what do you... her new book, by the way, you got to get the new book and pre-order it right now. It's called Resistance is Futile. And in every one of your books, there's a lot of great stuff, but there's always one thing that drives the liberals the most crazy. Do you have any idea what it's going to be in this book?
To be honest, I've never known. I think it's utterly random, the things they pick, twist, take out of context, usually a joke. But I think every single page, although I would like liberals to read it, because I think they've gone crazy, and I think it would be helpful not only for the country, but for them to stop being so crazy.
But this book really gets right in their face, because resistance is the one coping mechanism they have. It's the one thing they cling to. So for you to tell them it's futile, it's not good. Well, it's like their pacifier, their little resistance.
Yes. Oh, yes. No, the world has gone mad. And also, I think my own side has on some issues not explained them properly. We spend too much time getting down in the weeds and fighting the left on teeny tiny issues, when you need really to step back and take a broader approach.
Well, what do you mean? Because there's a million little fake stories coming out. You're saying you shouldn't fight every little story?
It'll be clearer when I can talk about the book, and I'm not really supposed to say too much about it yet. But, specific scandals, I just think that the topic sentence has been missing over and over again, and so the defenses, our side gets bored and walks away with details and names they're never going to remember. It's like, it's something I've gotten used to, going straight from law to writing, and I'm sure people in all kinds of fields, whatever the field is, feel the same way, but we lawyers, especially like during impeachment and all of the legal issues, we kept, I'd have to write up my column and then, as my friends would say, translate it into baby talk, because you start throwing around your terms that seem perfectly normal to you because you're a lawyer or, a mechanic, whatever, a scientist. They're not normal to other people, and I think there's a lot of that getting into the weeds with our side on the Trump scandals.
Yeah. Well, Ann Coulter's new book, Resistance is Futile. When does it actually come out? Very soon.
August 21st, very soon, just a few weeks.
All right, so go order it. You go to Amazon and pre-order it. You always get it ahead of time. And Les Moonves, this is a great scandal, this Les Moonves scandal.
Well, I think you're mentioning this so that I can point out, you have been telling people this is coming. I think you tweeted it since back in January.
February.
And the other times you predicted these things, you were totally right, vindicated like 1 month later. This one took a little bit longer, and your friends were getting impatient with you, thinking you were making it up. So the most important part of this story is Marc Simone, totally vindicated.
Well, the fact that it took an extra 6 months means it was not only at fact checkers, it went to law firms, outside law firms. The insurance company of the New Yorker went over it. You can be sure they absolutely verified everything in this.
I'm not that impressed with the story, though. And not just because Les Moonves was not like buddying around with Hillary. I mean, I think he probably gave less to Democrats than Donald Trump and Rupert Murdoch did. He doesn't seem particularly political. So apart from the fact that he's not someone I want to get or I'm happy to see go down, I don't really care one way or another. The stories of harassment, I mean, it's not, A, he doesn't look like Harvey Weinstein. B, he wasn't masturbating into plants. He wasn't, okay, jumping women and raping them. What he was, if you just read the first few paragraphs, and those are the most devastating things. Most of it's about CBS News and not so much about Moonves. But I'm reading it thinking, this is how I began with every boyfriend I've ever had.
Well, yeah, but the difference is between him and Harvey Weinstein, Les Moonves is a charming guy with a great personality. He's well-dressed. He's a nice-looking guy. You'd figure he could get some women without having to grab and force and do it.
He wasn't really. I mean, unless you want women to start being the aggressors in all romantic relations. Now, I guess he was married for most of this. I would have a moral objection to that. I'd never fool around with a married man. But that's different from saying, it was gross. What? A handsome man started kissing you.
Well, you can't, but it's improper. First of all, it's in his office.
I agree. It is totally improper. I'm totally appalled. But in these descriptions, the women are describing something more like, the reaction sounds more like the way you'd react to, I don't know, seeing Harvey Weinstein nude.
Well, but it turns out, in one of the articles pointed out, he had one of those Matt Lauer buttons under his desk to lock the door. That's pretty bad. Tony Soprano didn't have one of those buttons under his desk.
I'm checking to see if you have one.
No, I don't have. First of all, I don't even have an office, so I can't have a button. But everybody get Ann Coulter's new book. It's just about to come out. You want to get it first, pre-order it. You go to Amazon and order the book. It's a great idea for a book. It's called Resistance is Futile. In fact, you know what? Get a copy or two for your liberal friends. It's a good gift.
No, I think liberals will like it, and they'll learn a lot.
Yeah, all right. Well, if you really want to annoy a liberal friend, a real Trump hater, just say, hey, I got you this book. You should read this. You just go to Amazon and order Ann Coulter's new book. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Marc Simone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.